Hello, students, and welcome back. Today we are going to recite a poem, Animal, by Walt Whitman. Before starting with the poet, as we always do, let's have a small introduction about the poet. Walt Whitman, May 31st, 1819 to March 26, 1892, was an American poet, essay writer, and a journalist. A major figure in the early American poetry. He is known as the father of free verse poetry. Free verse poetry means the poetry which have no rhyme scheme. His work was very controversial in his time. Born in Huntington on Long Island, Whiteman worked as a journalist, a teacher, a government clerk, and in addition to publishing his poetry, was a volunteer nurse during the American Civil War. Now let's have a small summary about the poem, about the poetry animal. In this poem, the poet describes his will to become an animal and to live with them because he finds animals much more better than human beings. Why that he thinks so? Because human beings are greedy, selfish, and very complicated, whereas animals are very simple in nature. The poet desires to live in the world of animals because he thinks that they are happy, they are wise, and always satisfied with whatever they have. Now let's go ahead with the poem and have an explanation word to word. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self contained. I stand and look at them for long and long. They are so placid. Placid here means peaceful. In this stanza, the poet is explaining us or is saying that he wants to live with animal and become an animal because he thinks that animal world or the world of animal is much more better than that compared to human beings. He is impressed by their calmness and purity of mind. He thinks that animals are happy and always satisfied in whatever they have, and therefore he can stand and look at them for long and long. He also thinks that he can stay with them. He can stay in the world of animal where no one is complaining and has a free life from sins and sufferings. And therefore, he can stand for long and look at them for long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in dark and weep for their sins. They do not make music discussing the duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owing things. They do not sweat and whine. Whine means complain. Not one is demented with the mania, demented with behaving irrationally due to anger. The mania means the madness. In this particular stanza, the poet says that animals do not complain or cry on the conditions or about their conditions. They are always happy with the conditions. They do not cry. They do not keep on discussing with the wrongdoings with the God. Nor do they ask God for forgiveness, nor do they pray to God for forgiveness, or nor do they ask to fulfill the desires, to fulfill the wish towards the God. They do not keep on discussing about the wrongdoings. They are happy. They are nothing to worry about. They have nothing to worry about. And therefore, they are satisfied with whatever they have. And so they do not keep on running behind the worldly things or what we call as luxurious things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived for thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. Not one kneels. Kneels means to kneel down or to go down on the knees or a knee. Now, here in the stanza, the poet is explaining us that the, the animals do not pray to their ancestors. Rather, they do not pray to anyone. They do not pray in front of God. Not one is respectable. That means, by this, he means that everybody is equal. That means no one is respectable or no one is insultable in this earth. Therefore, they treat everyone equally. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get these tokens. Did I pass that huge time ago and negligently drop them? In this last stanza, the poem is trying to explain us that that animals represents humans somewhere. By this, he means that the qualities of humans, qualities such as love, calmness, tenderness, selflessness, honesty, and patience and empathy, has been lost by humans and are accepted by animals. And we have forgotten that humans have also forgotten about these qualities. Tokens here mean symbols or signs of human qualities. Evans means to show clearly. Now let's go ahead with the question and answers. Write a critical appreciation of the poem with the help of given guideline. Question number 1. As the title suggests, the poem dash expresses dash. Now in this bracket you can see about the title as the title suggests. Now what is the title of the poem? It's Animal. Expresses what? What does the title Animals expresses? It expresses the qualities of animals that the poet desires to adopt. The poem has been written by dash poet dash, that is poet's name. You can see that it has been given in the bracket, poet's name. Who was dash? About poet. Now, in this second question, the poem has been written by American. As you can see, it has given nationality in the bracket. That means American nationality. The poet name is Walt Whitman, who was regarded as the father of free verse. As you can see in the introduction, he was regarded as the father of free verse. He was also known for his non-conformist ideologies. Now, here you have to write about the poet that he was known for his non-conformist ideologies. The next thing, the poem has dash rhyme scheme. It has been written in dash. As we said before, the poem is has no rhyme scheme and it has written in free verse. He was the poet Walt Whitman was known for his free verse writing. The poem revolves around the central idea that animals are better than humans. The whole poem is revolving around the idea that the animals are much more better than humans and lead a more satisfying life than humans. Further, it tells us how central idea in the bracket. It tells us how humans have moved away from their natural selves in an attempt to civilize them and to have in fact degraded in terms of values and well-being. It tells us how humans have moved away. It tells us how humans have moved away from their natural selves and in an attempt to civilize them, that is, they have that humans have moved away from their qualities and are trying to accept what the world is giving them. Rather, in fact, they are in fact degraded in terms of values and well-being. Now the next question. My favorite lines from the poems are. Now what are my favorite lines? My favorite line is not one is respectable. That means everyone is treated equally or unhappy over the whole earth. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. That means the poet here and his favorite line is not one is respectable because he thinks that everyone should be treated equally. These are my favorite lines from the whole poetry. The figure of speech of this poem is interrogation, and has been used skillfully to give a poetic effect. The poet ends in a rhetorical question, making the reader think over the thoughts put forward in the entire poem. In this particular poem, the poet wants us to think about the qualities which animals have taken away from us, and so the entire poem is about that. Now, the question, the tone of the poem is, what is the tone of the poem? There are some special features. The tone of the poem is reflective. The poet uses negation, that things that animals do not do, to highlight the human actions that we dislikes. He states that humans had all the qualities mentioned in the poem earlier, but they dropped them and the animals have adopted them. The quality which we discussed before, the quality which humans lack now, are adopted by animals and they are behaving as per that. I like the poem as it is an honest criticism of present social order. Yet the poet is not negative or demanding about anyone. He creates an inspiring idea of simplifying things in life rather than taking up talking about high moral and ethics. He just wants us to think or rethink about the qualities which we lack, or he wants a honest criticism of the present social order. The poet is not negative. He is not demeaning about anyone. He is trying to create an inspiration from the simple things and the simple ideas or the idea of simply things in life rather than talking about high morals and ethics. Now, that was all for today. Thank you so much. Signing off.